We're here with Nick Burton, a University of York alumni who took a Master's in Chemistry with a year in industry. He now works as a technologist at Infineum, which is a specialty chemical company.
So where do you work and what is it that you do?
So the UK site of Infineum is based just south of Oxford. It's just off the A34 outside Didcot at the Milton interchange, which if you hear the traffic reports in the morning, you might have heard about for the traffic jams that are in that area. So my role is a technologist, as Alastair said. That's a project leader role at Infineum, and I work in our lubricant additives team formulating new engine oils, and I do that for one of our major lubricant marketer customers.
What did you enjoy when you did your degree here at York?
Well, to start with, the campus location and the college structure were very appealing to me. I grew up in a small town in rural mid Wales, so the jump to university, moving 4 hours away from home, was quite big for me. And those smaller environments of the college and the campus were pretty important for me to make the steps out into the big wide world. I was also struck very quickly on my visit to York on the open day by the very obvious importance of teaching in the department. A number of the teachers at that time had received teaching awards, and I can see that since then that's continued. And some of those teachers are still there, so Andy Parsons, Peter O'Brien, David Smith, to name but three that I can remember for being really good and really enthused about their teaching. And also I should say that I met my wife, who was also an undergraduate in the same year as me on the course.
Okay, so what is the most useful part of your degree for your job?
Two things, I would say. The first is time management. Chemistry undergraduates always feel like they're very busy and they have a lot to do, but that is what life's like in the real world, and it's good to always be practicing how you can manage a lot of things and deliver on all those things. So I think that that's certainly an area where I feel like my university experience put me in a very good place when I transferred into industry. Also, I think that it's the case for all chemists really, being comfortable handling data. There's so many jobs that involve handling data, and if you don't have a scientific or a mathematical background, then that can be quite a big challenge. I've never really got out of the habit of handling data. It's always been there in my studies and in the jobs that I've done. But for some of my colleagues, they might have had quite a big break between their school and a job where they need to handle data. So I'm certainly very happy about the background that I've had in that and the way that the chemistry course at York helped me to prepare for that.
What is the most memorable aspect of studying chemistry at York?
This was a tough one. In my first year at York, the old mushroom water tower was still up. I'm not sure if it's still the case, but the department used to be set up in this quadrangle format with the big mushroom water tower was in the middle. It wasn't used at the time that I was there, and in between my first and second years it was demolished. But as you were approaching on the A64, you could always tell you were getting close at the end of that long journey from mid Wales when you could see the water tower on the horizon. I also remember during one of the undergraduate lab practicals, we were refluxing some methanol, and my lab partner and I, we'd forgotten to put in some of the anti-bumping granules. So the way we decided to resolve this was that I'd hold the equipment and my partner would put them in from the top of the Libby condenser. He put in quite a lot of the anti-bumping granules, and all the energy that was built up in the methanol caused it to spray out of the top of the Libby condenser and go all over me. I wasn't hurt at all, although I did have an eye on the location of the emergency shower just as this was happening in case I needed to make a mad dash for it. So thankfully, for everyone concerned, I'm kept well out of the lab now, and I'm very only rarely invited in to, ironically, give my observations regarding safety.
Okay, so final question. What do you enjoy most about your job?
I think the first thing I would say to that is working for a company that's got its priorities right. For Infineum, its priorities are safety, ethics, and looking after its people. And that makes me feel really good. And I think especially in the recent times, the coronavirus pandemic and the impact that that's had, that's really shone through, and I think that's really set Infineum apart from a lot of other companies. It's also the case that I wanted to follow up my degree with a move into an application that was relevant for lots of people. Ideally, I didn't want it to be something obscure that people had never heard of. So I got a sponsorship from Castrol in my first year, which was the first time I'd really thought about working in the lubricants industry. I've always had an interest in cars and motorsport. So the ability to work in that sort of area, which is relevant for so many people, was something very appealing. And I can always, get people to relate to the type of work I do by saying, well, have you taken a ride in a car? So you're likely to have met some of the chemicals from the industry where I work. I think now that I've spent quite a lot of time in Infineum, I'm 15 years now at Infineum, I find it rewarding that I can help other people learn and develop. You don't learn much about lubricant chemistry and lubricant additive chemistry on an undergraduate chemical course. So there's quite a bit of learning to do when you join the company. And at Infineum, we're very well structured in our technology department around that. And I'm now at the stage where I'm training some of our new starters and giving advice to people with less experience about how to run the projects. And that's something that I've really found rewarding. And then finally, in my role at Infineum, I'm the front end of the technology department. So I'm at the customer interface. All of my roles at Infineum, some of which have been technical, some of which have been non-technical, have all been at the customer interface. And I really enjoy communicating these technical items, often to a non-technical audience. And it's the case that if you can find a way to clearly and concisely explain technical details in a way that non-technical people can understand, that's something which is really valuable, and it's not something that everyone can do. So I get really motivated by working at the customer interface. They're the people who buy our products and pay our wages. And yeah, that's something which I really do enjoy.